Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, we welcome back Osiris Rex from its recent asteroid adventure with Mr. Universe.
And we'll learn about the beating heart of Afro-Latin dance with Brendaliz Cepeda and Saul Peñalosa of Bomba de Aqui. But first, the cutest and newest way we could think of to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month.
It is Hispanic Heritage Month, or whatever you'd like to call it. And today we're going to learn...
Don't just say that. It can't be whatever you want to call it.
There's some debate about whether it's Hispanic Heritage Month, whether it's Latino Heritage Month, whether it's Latinx, whether it's Latine. But what we want to focus on here is all the super cool Latin-based culture that surrounds us, largely surrounding the Spanish language. And we're going to do just that right now when we learn about Bomba.
Bomba de Aqui is a dance and music company that performs and teaches Afro-Puerto Rican traditions throughout Western Massachusetts, providing workshops in public schools, colleges, churches, and other community venues. Not just Massachusetts, though. I saw that you taught a class out in Providence recently.
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay. The Bomba spreads.
Yes.
They educate the community about the history of Afro-Puerto Rican music, foster understanding of the richness of Puerto Rican arts, and encourage active participation in that heritage. It's particularly important for Latino, Latine, Latinx, Latina students, but everyone is welcome to learn about this, and instruction is in both Spanish and in English.
Bomba de Aqui is directed by Brendaliz Cepeda, dance teacher, and she is the granddaughter of the great Bomba performer Rafael Cepeda. And she learned the art and its history in her family, first appearing on stage at the age of 5. She has a BA in education and MA in special education and has taught special education in the Holyoke, Massachusetts school system for many years.
Bomba de Aqui's musical director and Brendaliz's husband, Saul Peñalosa, is a well-known percussionist and performs with other ensemble members and professional musicians to bring this music to our region and beyond. For those who are not familiar with Bomba, what is Bomba, Brendaliz?
Thank you for the intro, by the way. Oh, my goodness. I feel so good. I'm like, wow, I really got to bring my A game.
No, you already brought your A game. We're just telling people about your A game.
Thank you. So Bomba came from our ancestors from Africa many, many years ago. It landed in Puerto Rico in the area of San Juan. The area that I cover for my family is Santurce. And I say it with proud and happiness and joy because it's not only a culture that landed in Puerto Rico, right, by our ancestors, by the slaves that came to Puerto Rico, but also it gave us a sense of identity, culture, who we are, how we're connected. And from there, formed other things as well. The word bomba came from the drum that came from Africa that they called Congo. So they used a barrel to transport goods like, rum, fish back then. And then within time, they made it into a drum. Congo, barrel, drum, bomba. That's how the word evolved. As we move along many years later, it became a word of sense of healing, physical movement. But even though you're moving and dancing, you're healing inside as well. And now Bomba also is connected to revolts, right, of things happening. One of the examples that was used a lot is Black Lives Matters. We represent it with Bomba because we wanted to heal, but we wanted to be a part of the community. So Bomba has many meanings.
One of the coolest things I think about Bomba is that when you see it, it looks like conversation between the body of the dancer and the bodies of drummers, just that engagement. And I feel like that's on purpose. Like it has to be that connection of conversation. Can you talk about the connection that you have with the drummer?
So drumming, really important that we are connected because you have the main drummer, which is called the primo, and then you have the dancer, which would be me or whoever else is coming to dance in front of the primo. That connection alone is the connection of the dancing, of the movement, and the drum following the movement. And I'm going to let Saul talk a little bit about that.
The bomba is big and huge. The communication to dancer is so important. I don't practice with Brenda, nothing. That is spontaneous.
It's just spontaneous.
I see the movement and playing, that's it.
It's what
I know practice and nothing.
And unlike
Natural.
other art forms or dances, you are following Brenda's lead as the drummer rather than vice versa. You're not, Brenda, dancing to whatever rhythm Saul puts down.
No, it's what I'm dancing and he is following. And that connection is really important because Bomba has many rhythms, right? Also, it's important to know that the rhythm that you decide to dance to, for example, Sika, you still have to follow the rhythm, the maintain the beat, and also maintain the basic step. All that follows along. But what you feel inside is what's going to come out when you're dancing. And that's really important. That's where everybody is like, wow. And that's what I want to teach everybody as well.
We're speaking with Brendaliz Cepeda and Saul Peñalosa, who are from Bomba de Aqui, which are the go-to Bomba instruction organization in the 413 and beyond for sure. What I think is really interesting, Brendaliz, is that your grandfather is in some ways the chronicler of this art form that has been handed down generation after generation. Can you tell us about your grandfather and what made him start to preserve this bit of cultural heritage for Puerto Ricans?
Well, I am so honored, blessed to come in a long line of tradition, because that is something that I hold very strongly, very deeply, and that's what I move forward with. This is what I do 24/7. I eat, breathe, sleep, bomba, tradition and folklore. There's nothing else I could do right now. and Saul too, he the same thing. And so my grandfather, back in 1910 is when he was born, but back in like the 20s, 30s, 40s, that time frame, he knew that Bomba was kind of leaving, right? Because if you think about it, the slaves would get together in una hacienda, like a area where they were able to allow to play this music. So within time, those years, Bomba was kind of like a roller coaster going up and down. It was there, but it wasn't there. It was kind of hidden. But my grandfather said, no, this needs to be out. This is our tradition. This is who we are. So he connected with other people in the community and even people that were seen in the TV, right? That was allowed to be seen in the TV, connected with them. And then they started bringing their Bomba group. And it's kind of like the Jackson 5 because it was my grandfather and the kids, right? my aunts and uncles talking clear. So it was kind of like the Jackson 5. And from there, what made it huge was that they left from there to other places like Washington, D.C., New Gerena. And that was huge. And not only my grandfather, I had to give props and present her wherever I go is my grandmother, Gerena Cepeda, who was a dancer in her area of Humacao and other areas as well. And my grandfather, my grandmother connected, and they became one.
But your grandfather was like taking notes about the way things were, what people were wearing, and really preserving this as an archivist, which I think is amazing. One thing I was reading about Bomba that's particularly interesting is the wardrobe. There's an aspect of wardrobe that comes into the dance.
Yeah, so keep in mind, back in the times where Bomba wasn't really out, the wardrobe was pretty much the females would sew their own skirts. So you got to imagine what the skirts looked like back then, very long, covering below the knees, to what they saw back in the 50s that the skirts were out worn. So they created a bomba skirt that looked similar to like what the 50s skirts wardrobe was like. And then after that, they added the bows underneath with the I forgot how to say that name in English, but the under part of the skirts that are really long, they added bows underneath, like a slip, like a
or like a crinoline almost.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it made it more professional when they go out to dance. So, the wardrobe went through many different phases.
Does the wardrobe, that change in the skirt, change how the movement works?
Definitely. A lot of people have to realize if you have a bomba skirt, the skirts are longer, wavier, flow of how you can move the length of my arm. Like if I take my arm out to the right, my skirt is following and going a little bit beyond my fingertips, It's more allows us to do more steps. But if we go back to the 1950s, you won't see a skirt like that, right? Back then, they weren't even allowed to bring their skirt above their knee area, so really different.
We're speaking with Brendaliz Cepeda and Saul Peñalosa about Bomba. Bomba de Aqui is their group out of Granby that is teaching Bomba throughout the 4 counties of Western Mass and beyond.
You take Bomba and fuse it with other musical styles often. You've got a style that you have that's yours pretty much called Patu Plena. And then you have a group that you formed called Bomba Jazzeando.
Yes, yes. Yes, Bomba Jazzeando is a mix of bomba with jazz.
It's Bomba and jazzing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the literal translation.
Literal
Doing both
translation.
at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a little bit mix on bomba and jazz with Julian Gerstein. He's a part of the Julian Jazz Band and Bomba de Aqui. And the Batu Plena is a mix of batucada from Brazil and plena from Puerto Rico. That's how the rhythm part of Puerto Rico.
Yeah, so talk about, because I always hear the terms bomba y plena together a lot. But they're different, but they're related. Do you want to talk about how they're related?
The difference of the plena is 3 drums, hand drums.
Uh-huh.
With a guiro,
Right.
the singer. The bomba is more in seat with the drums. In Spanish, bomba. That's the name of the barrels, bomba. And the qua is 2 sticks, and the maraca with the singer. That's a different. And the rhythms and everything is
It's
totally different.
totally different. And the bomba has a little bit of the Taino roots, too,
Uh-huh.
with the maraca, with the gua,
It's more feeling, right?
It's
Like-
more of a feeling as well,
And
too.
that's coming from more of the indigenous community of the
Yes.
island,
Yeah.
merging it with the African community on the
Yes.
island.
Yes.
And that's amazing.
Is it hard to merge jazz with a style that relies so much on being able to see the dancer, like it's so improvisational? Well, it seems like it should fit, but when you bring in horns, sometimes that's an extra difficulty.
There's a mix of feelings and improvisation.
Yes. And then
Together.
you have the composing it, right? So sometimes it can be a little difficult, but when you put it together, it sounds so good.
It's pretty incredible. Brendaliz Cepeda and Saul Peñalosa, who are part of Bomba de Aqui here in Granby and beyond, teaching the community. How do young kids, especially Puerto Rican young kids, respond when you give them a lesson in this? Is it something that they're like, I'd rather listen to Bad Bunny. I don't want to learn bomba. That's my great
That's my great grandpa's
music.
Or does it really resonate with them? Is there something that catches?
There's a mix.
Also, Bad Bunny rules, by the way.
Yes, we like Bad Bunny.
I like to.
I'm not going to lie.
I like to. But that's a mix.
Definitely. We have some youth that are, it brings them back to their hometown, right? Because they don't live in Puerto Rico no more. They live here. And then you have some youth that are like, maybe born here, but their background is from Puerto Rico, so they don't know a lot about the tradition and culture. So it opens up those doors. What we do opens a lot of doors. And by the way, we do it through our other program, through Multicultural Learning Center. We have
In the schools.
in the school. So we started with Bomba de Aqui back in 2016, around there, 2015. And then about 3 years ago, I told my husband, I said, Saul, it's time. And he was like, time for what? And I said, well, it's time to bring this into schools. By doing that, I let go of my other career, which was teaching full-time special ed. And I went directly to the schools, and I have to say we are really blessed because all schools were for it. Currently, 3 years, we are planting the seed in our program in Springfield, Holyoke, and now Connecticut.
Oh, cool.
I think that's so great.
Is it
Thank you.
like a small program, or is it recurring, like an after-school sort of thing?
So we have some schools that we're there from September to June. We have some schools that we are there for the period of Hispanic month. And then we have 8 schools that we go time to time. So maybe they need us for October, but then we have to come back in, January. Last year we had 20 schools. This year we're starting with 10.
Before we let you go, is there anything we can learn? You don't have any drums with you right now. We don't have any music with us, but anything we can use the drums that are around us to show us, especially you, Saul, who's the band leader of Bomba de Aqui, about what makes for a bomba beat?
Oh, you're right. But before you
Enséñanos cómo hace
do
eso.
that, I do want to announce that our studio was in Granby, but now it's moved to Holyoke. So a surprise will be, on our Facebook, and to let people know we got a home in Holyoke. And we continue working in the schools, so everything's slowly putting together.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Perfect place for you, I think.
The bomba rhythms, the more famous. The name is Hika. It's like dun ka dun 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 dun ka dun.
Everything is a drum.
Yeah.
I got the bomba.
But also, you feel like we're only playing on tables, but the minute you get a second person, a third person in, it just swells. It's hard to deny.
And then
right?
Brendaliz starts dancing. Saul starts changing it up a little bit.
Yes.
Have you ever done a class on modern versus old school bomba?
I always wanted to. I really do. And I put it out to a lot in the universities because I feel like the universities, the more older crowd would appreciate it. And I'm just waiting for that chance.
Oh, it'll come. I'm curious.
Yeah.
It
Right?
can't just be
Isn't
me.
it?
There's got to be a grant out there. We'll find it. We'll help you find it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Brendaliz Cepeda and Saul Peñalosa from Bomba de Aqui, formerly of Granby, and now
Soon to be of
Holyoke, for giving us this little lesson in bomba.
Thank you.
Look out for where they're teaching next.
You can find out all about Bomba de Aqui's upcoming appearances on their Facebook, Instagram, or on their website, bombadeaqui.com.
But one of their projects that we talked about in that segment, Bomba Jazzeando, is going to be at a place you'll hear about on the Fabulous 413 tomorrow, the North Quabbin Garlic and Arts Festival.
There's a great lineup at that very affordable festival in the very outskirts of our listening range in the fabulous 978. And we'll talk all about that with one of the festival's founders, Deb Habib, tomorrow on the show.
Still counts as Western Mass.
Yes.
We'll discover what Springfield's cutest new dual language school, Gerena Elementary.
Well done.
I can get there.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, offering co-op advantage checking with cash back on all purchases, plus secure debit card controls, all from the UMass 5 mobile banking app. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
It feels like we've been called to the principal's office. We're literally sitting on a couch outside the principal's office.
I know, and the structure is so brutalist, like my elementary school was. It was just sort of wow, I am having massive flashbacks.
I know. Although they have a gorgeous mural outside.
I know, I took pictures.
We're at the Gerena School here in Springfield. It is Latin American Heritage Month. It's Hispanic Heritage Month. It's a celebration of all things Latin culture. And one incredible thing that has happened here at this school this year is the dual language program. What's your name?
I'm Cynthia Escribano. I am the building principal.
Are we in trouble?
You're not.
We had to wait outside the principal's office. It was a little bit intimidating.
You're not in trouble.
Okay, good.
It was very nostalgic.
And what's your name?
I'm another Cindy McCarthy.
Oh, that's going to make it so easy. This school has this year decided to adopt a dual language program. Tell us, for those who, if it doesn't make sense on its face value, what that looks like in this school.
So we instruct in pre-K right now and kindergarten. Half of our day is in Spanish and the other half is in English. So students are exposed to both languages during the school day.
This school goes up through 5th grade, though, right? So is this hopeful that it would expand into the other grades as well? Cindy M.
Yes, exactly. So our next year, our current kindergartners who are in our dual language program will then graduate to the 1st grade dual language program, and each year that cohort will go to the next grade.
Are you the only school that's incorporated this program this year, or have other schools in Springfield adopted the system?
Principal Cindy?
As of right now, we are the first elementary school to implement the program in Springfield Public Schools.
No wonder people can't get it.
Yeah, we had, I don't know if we should fully disclose who it was. We had a guest on a couple weeks ago that was hoping to get one of the kids in their life into this school. And it is a magnet school, and I feel like, a lot of places in the Valley don't have magnet schools per se, like they do in New York City. So tell us about how the process works to get into this school.
Yeah, so you are correct. We are a magnet school, so it is a lottery. So parents, when they're signing up, we may have a wait list, so they get placed on the wait list, but that's how we started the process, through a lottery. So they signed up if they were interested, and we selected our students, and here we are.
But unlike a charter school, it still falls under the umbrella of the school committee of Springfield.
Yes.
It's democratically run. There are many opportunities for many school districts to do what are called Horace Mann charter schools, which are like magnet schools, where you could have a focus on a thing like a dual language school, and yet would have more of the democratic process with your tax dollars at work. That's my little rant about charter schools. During the W. Bush administration and No Child Left Behind, and some of the legacy of what happened with that in the classroom, there was a time where another language apart from English was not allowed to be spoken in a classroom. Even if you were in an area where, say, Springfield or Holyoke or wherever, where there might be a large percentage of people speaking another language, the teachers could get in trouble if they would speak in another language. What's changed to make a school like the Gerena School and dual language possible?
So I think DESE has really identified
Department of Education and Secondary Education? Is that what it is? Yeah.
The need, and we're just really excited to celebrate the richness that our students bring, from language to culture. And it's a beautiful thing to see now when we go upstairs and we see our preschoolers and our kindergarten students engaging in both languages. They're pretty resilient. They're learning pretty quickly, wouldn't you say, Cindy?
Absolutely. There have also been studies that show students who are in dual language, they tend to close the gap faster than students who are in other types of language support systems.
In some philosophies of language learning, if you teach a kid when they're too little two languages, they're slow to develop in both languages.
This is our first year.
Yeah.
We're literally just 2 weeks into the school year.
They don't know all Spanish yet or all English?
Yeah. But the research that we've done in the coursework that we've taken at our level is saying just the opposite. That's younger students, you're celebrating both languages, you have this opportunity to see the similarities and differences, and there are so similarities, especially in English and Spanish, where students would just make connections to what they're learning, and it's not a struggle. That's what we've learned. So we haven't seen it in action yet. Like I said, we're just in pre-KK, and we're hoping to see that what we've learned is true.
How has the process been for the teachers here for this process? Has it been like a bit of an uphill battle, or has it been easier to adopt and adjust to the students in this program?
I don't have to say we have some really amazing educators on our team who were willing to take on the work, and they've been engaged in coursework as well to prepare to open the program. They have been 110% in really developing their knowledge about dual language so that they can support our students.
My wife spoke to my children in Spanish, and one of the things that was interesting in a predominantly English-speaking culture where we live, she would speak to them in Spanish, but they would answer back in English. So what have been some of the anecdotal things that you've observed in the classroom? Has there been some students that answer back in only Spanish and some students that answer back in only English, no matter what language are being spoken to?
Probably, but like I said, we're just started.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah. So, but yes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. You answer in the language that you feel most comfortable answering in right now. And as our program develops, we're hoping that when you're in the Spanish classroom for that 50% of the day, that you will start answering and speaking in Spanish. But if you're not ready for that just yet, then you speak in the language that you feel most comfortable in, especially in the younger grades.
You will both obviously speak English, and we're speaking to the principal of the Gerena School in Springfield and the dual language coach, both named Cindy.
We could do the rest of this interview in Spanish, but it would be hard for at least two of us.
Yes, that's right. So what's both of your relationships to Spanish? Principal Cindy?
I am a bilingual individual, so I speak.
Your last name is Escribano?
Escribano.
It couldn't be more perfect for like a Spanish language learning. It's like a joke written in Spanish into your name.
Yeah, but I am a I'm a biliterate individual, and I'm really excited that we get to celebrate the language that our students bring to this community, and it's wonderful. Even when I'm taking kids out of the car, like engaging in them, with them in Spanish, and families are really excited, and we're just as excited, and kids are really excited to be speaking two languages right now.
Cindy Escribano was awarded the Amplify Latinx 100 Latin Leaders Award this year.
So they're a nonprofit organization that really promotes Latinx leaders in Massachusetts. And so those who are making an impact in communities that are with high Latinx populations, we were being honored, and I happen to be one of those.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I do not speak Spanish yet.
So you're learning Spanish too,
I'm
as part of
learning
it.
Spanish, which is beautiful because we're starting in pre-KK, and that's kind of where the level I am right now. So
Yeah.
I go in those classrooms, and I'm learning with the kiddos.
Me too. If you give me a children's book in Spanish, I'm mostly good there. If you give me anything much more in depth, I have a hard time with it. How are you able to coach and only be fluent in English at this point?
That is a beautiful question, and that was something that I was struggling with.
Yeah.
But we have a network in the Valley, so there's the Holyoke Public Schools and Amherst, and there are other districts that have dual language programs. So working closely with them, working closely with the principal Escribano to help me in those classrooms if needed, and just having a really nice, strong relationship with the teachers just helps. We have a Spanish-speaking teacher and an English-speaking teacher in kindergarten. We sit together and we plan together. What is the English teacher doing? What is the Spanish teacher doing? They use the same curriculum. So then if the Spanish teacher has some questions about what's coming up, we can brainstorm some ideas together based on all of our knowledge at the table.
And again, it's not just language. They're not just learning Spanish and learning English. They're learning math in Spanish.
Yes,
in that grade,
yes. We want our students to graduate as biliterate students, being able to read, speak, and write in Spanish.
Which is different in the way that you're nuancing it than just strictly bilingual.
Correct.
Yeah.
There are 3 pillars to dual education, to dual language. You could think of it as the ABCs. So we want high academic achievement, we want biliteracy and bilingualism, and then we want high cultural competency for all of our students.
How many kids are in the program right now with the pre-K and K?
About 80 students right now.
Are other Springfield schools like watching your model, kind of seeing how it turns out and like waiting to implement or see how they too can implement this?
It's possible. We are the first school, so I think, folks will be watching us to see what our results are.
In that light, are you expecting for there to be a middle school dual language program in, I see cross fingers, in Springfield for your kids when they are done here?
Yeah, that's the goal. And working with the district, the goal is to have that so that our students can continue in middle school and then proceed on to high school to graduate with the seal of biliteracy.
So basically, Springfield has about 9 years to get a high school in order for this to keep working.
But the middle school clock is ticking.
Do you already have teachers lined up for the other, or is this a constant search for your Spanish half of the grade as this goes on? Because we're in K and pre-K right now, but next year you'll need a first grade teacher, and the year after second grade, and so on.
I would say for the most part, we're pretty lined up. We are still looking for a few more biliterate educators. But yes, we are a school that is very proactive, and we don't like to wait till the last minute. So we really believe in coaching and developing our staff. And so it was really important to us to line up as much as possible so that we're building our team's knowledge so that when we are ready to launch dual language in each given grade level, our teachers will feel pretty successful.
I wish that I had a school like this when I was a kid.
I agree, absolutely. Especially, unfortunately, you can't see this, but if you walk into the kindergarten and pre-K classrooms right now, and you listen to them to see what the students are able to do so quickly at the beginning of the school year, and how students who are predominantly Spanish speaking, their faces just light up when the teacher is talking to them in Spanish, and when they can answer in Spanish, and then when they can help a student who's speaking is more dominant in English, they can help that student sitting next to them learn Spanish, and then it's vice versa when they go into the other classroom. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's too early for me to ask this question because you're 2 weeks into the school year.
That's okay.
But I'm curious how the parents of especially predominantly Spanish speaking, or like either sets of parents have reacted to this program besides trying to get their kids in.
They've had a very positive reaction. As we said, our goal is for students to be biliterate, so we really want that commitment from our families to stay with us so that students can really master both languages before they go to middle school.
So at the beginning of the school year, we had families come in so that we can talk a little bit more about what the program looks like. And on multiple occasions, we had parents crying, happy tears, saying, "Thank you so much for doing this. We just moved here from Guatemala. We don't want our child to lose the language." That phrase, "we don't want our child to lose the language," came up more than once in a day of smaller groups of families coming in, with parents just so thankful for this program.
Principal Escribano, did you grow up speaking bilingually and biliterately?
I did. So my mother is bilingual. She's biliterate. She came from the Dominican Republic when she was 15 years old, and my father came too. So both my parents spoke Spanish, but my mother was the only one that spoke Spanish and English. So throughout my life, and just speaking both languages, taking Spanish in school where I grew up, and so that's how I was able to learn how to read and write in Spanish.
What do you imagine a school like this would have meant to you as a young person with the background that you had come from?
I think having a school like this would have given me a little bit more empowerment in dominating my Spanish language. It's always English, 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 but it really embraces what our students bring to the table. And it would have been nice and would have given me a little bit more confidence. Sometimes we think that our Spanish is not good enough. And so I think that a program like this really allows students to excel and master two languages to give them that confidence as well.
Cindy McCarthy, what would a school like this have meant to you as somebody who is monolingual now but working towards being bilingual?
Oh my goodness, I can't even. I'm trying to learn Spanish now as an adult, and it is a struggle. I don't know if any of your listeners also are adults who are learning a new language, but it is really hard as an adult to do so. To be able to be immersed in two languages as a young child and then be able to speak it and then connect with other people throughout the world would just be a blessing. It would be great.
Being a magnet school of Springfield Public Schools, and being that we already know somebody who couldn't get their child in, is there a time frame when people should be thinking about this? If they have students who they would like to get into this school?
I mean, the sooner the better. I mean,
so it's open all the time to
Yeah.
just put in an application?
Yeah, and if it's a preschooler, I would definitely enroll students in. Note when they're going to student assignment services they would like to be a part of our dual language program, so that we can get them in, hopefully.
We're walking in the hallways of the Gerena School. We're going to go into one of the bilingual classrooms to get to hear the cute little kids speaking in all the different languages.
¿Listos? Listo. Ok. Cuando vea tu mesa, vas a ir a tu mesa y vas a abrir a la página 3. Sí, porque esa es la página que empezaron ayer. ¿Quién es mi ayudante? Albert. ¿Lo pueden ayudar? Sí. ¿Qué número es? 2. Gracias.
So something about the makeup of the classroom, the students are around a third, and a third. So 1/3 mostly Spanish-speaking students, 1/3 mostly English-speaking students, and 1/3 who are bilingual already.
That's a great way to do it.
Is your entourage?
Yes, we're bodyguards, so you better be careful.
What are we doing?
We're doing a radio interview about the bilingual integrated classroom.
Oh, who are you?
I'm Monty.
Hi, nice to meet you.
This is Khalees.
Hi, Khalees.
We're from New England Public Media.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, this is Laura Mendez, and she is our...
I don't have prepared remarks.
Neither did I. She called me over the loudspeaker.
I put you guys on the spot.
We don't have any prepared questions, so don't worry.
She's the director of literacy for Springfield Public Schools.
Oh, wow. So for the whole school system.
For the elementaries.
Oh, for the elementary. So tell me what your take is so far, only 2 weeks into this experiment here at the Gerena School.
I am so excited because these colleagues who are so esteemed and knowledgeable are reporting to me such positive interactions with families and students and educators in 2 weeks' time. I mean, it's all that we could have wished for. They've done such incredible work planning for this over the past 2 years. And, when people say, oh, start something, they think it just magically happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't just magically happen. And they took the time to do it right. And this is going to be an amazing program for our families in Springfield, having the opportunity for their children to to learn with both languages and to become bilingual and biliterate. It's just amazing.
What does the future look like for the Springfield public school systems writ large with this sort of integrated language learning classroom?
Well, I do think that the system at large is really closely watching to see the success of this program and will go forward knowing the results and learning from what worked and what didn't work. And we're hopeful that it will spread.
We hope it spreads too.
Yeah.
Way better than COVID.
Yeah. Something you want to catch.
Exactly. Catch new languages.
Oh, I love it. What a great t-shirt.
It's too soon. Principal Cynthia Escribano and Cindy McCarthy, a dual language coach at the Gerena School in Springfield, as well as Laura Mendez, Director of Literacy for Springfield Elementary Schools.
Thank you so much for allowing us to run through your halls and see all of your drawings. It was genuinely the cutest and really inspiring.
Yeah, we were a little bit of a distraction to that new class.
Just a tiny bit.
There,
but it was also really, not empowering, but again, uplifting to be in that classroom and go, oh, wait, no, I still understand basic Spanish.
Yeah, me too.
Up next, we'll see what Osiris Rex was able to discover from its recent asteroid encounter, and is it the stuff of annihilation like we've seen in the movies?
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, offering solar options, energy security, and solutions for the local community. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Time for some more kitchen table astronomy with Hampshire College astronomer Dr. Salman Hamid at his table here in Amherst, Massachusetts. Today we're going to talk about the little-known dinosaur, Osiris Rex.
That is correct. A ferocious one.
Oh, okay. Osiris Rex is not actually a dinosaur. What is Osiris Rex?
So this is a very cool mission that went to an asteroid, orbited it for a couple of years, landed on it, dug down, got some samples, and just this past Sunday, it brought those samples back to Earth.
Where was this asteroid?
It depends upon its orbit.
It's not parked somewhere. It's moving.
It is moving,
Yeah.
and it is one of those asteroids. Incidentally, its name is Bennu, and this is one of those asteroids that has a chance. I mean, it's a low chance, but it's one of those asteroids that has a chance to hit the Earth in 2182, in fact, to be very precise. It has a 1 in a 2,000 chance. What does Osiris stands for? Osiris Rex. Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked. Origins, spectral interpretation, resources, identification, and security regolith explorer.
Wow.
Wait a minute. No laughing. Monty, now you have to repeat it.
Nope. That's a great acronym, though. I mean, most of astronomy's acronyms are super boring. Osiris Rex sounds cool.
Well, but that's the reason was, so this was the other way around, because Bennu is an Egyptian deity, god of birth, regeneration, of sun, and other things. Bennu is a bird and a mythological bird, and Osiris is another god that is connected to that. So they came up with this really, I would say, unfortunate sequence of letters that actually make up Osiris. But really cool to know that it's linked to the Egyptian deity, both Bennu and Osiris. So astronomers want to know what kind of an asteroid that is. And again, I want to clarify, no, it's not going to hit us, because even then the probability is pretty low. But this is one of those asteroids which are near-Earth asteroids, and they are potentially threatening ones. And there were already a lot of surprises when this spacecraft, Osiris Rex, went close to it. Getting a sample from asteroid, I mean, it provides you a lot of, from pure science perspective, it is actually really exciting because it gives you a little, not taste of it, because you should not taste it, but
First thing I did was put it in my mouth.
But it gives you information about the early solar system, because this is how this asteroid was formed. You do get pieces on Earth, of course, the big ones can kill you too, but you do have meteoroids that come in, and they're very interesting, and people find out that, well, they contain amino acids, they contain elements that are raw materials for life, and so on and so forth, but they go through our atmosphere.
So they get cooked.
and it also, when they reach the ground, there's contamination from the ground. So even though some of the best samples are the ones, for example, if they crash in cold regions in Antarctica, and people immediately try to get it and try to preserve it, all of that is good. But just imagine if you have a sample directly from an asteroid and you preserve it and make sure that when it goes through our own atmosphere, which this Osiris Rex sample did, then you may potentially have a really pristine sample of basically of the early solar system. It's giving you information of how solar system was 4.5 billion years ago and what kind of things these asteroids bring to the Earth.
Is it too early to know what that sample found? That the return mission just arrived on Sunday?
Yes, it is too early. Here is your political plug to it. They're supposed to release more information in October. But of course, pending if the government stays open.
Yeah.
So otherwise, we will have to wait. So if you have any complaints, please write to Matt Gates.
Yeah.
Just as a context, by the way, that is Wookiee.
Yeah, hello, Wookiee. Wookiee's like a guest host of this segment. Right. I think it's becoming quite popular with the listeners.
But he does walk out too at this time in the middle. He goes like,
you mentioned Matt Gates, I'm out.
Exactly. There is a walkout here. But this particular mission that was launched in 2016, it caught up to that asteroid and then orbited it. And while it was orbiting it, while it was getting close, first of all, there was a surprise because they thought that there would be a smooth asteroid where they can actually grab some of the regolith on top, which would be smooth, and just land, get it, and then later on come back. What they discovered was that it was actually made up of rubble, barely held on together with very low gravity. And so they actually had a hard time finding a good landing spot. And to think about the size of this asteroid, it's about half a kilometer, or 0.3 miles or so, a little bit bigger than the Empire State Building. And so this is a small asteroid, and they had to find a place where to land, and this was tricky. So while it orbited a couple of miles above it. So just think about a spacecraft that humans sent out in the vastness of space. They're like, okay, where that asteroid would be, it had to catch up to that, slow down, and then orbit around it. And then it tried to find what would be the best place, because some of the boulders on this asteroid were like several stories high. So they found sort of this little spot, that maybe they can go over there, land on it, and immediately bounce back. And they had this sort of like a vacuum cleaner type thing that they could actually grab some of that material and bring it back. And it did that. This was in 2020. Successfully, it landed, it brought back, and it turned out that in fact it got too much stuff. So it couldn't close properly, and it was losing some of that material, that regolith. But then eventually it got back to that spacecraft. So this is all happening a few million miles from us. In 2021, it actually started its journey back. And then on Sunday, it passed close to Earth, so around 63,000 miles. That's how far this spacecraft was when it released this capsule. So this Osiris Rex spacecraft, which is not a dinosaur, but if there was one, this would be the cool one. It went to Bennu, the asteroid, which is a small asteroid, less than half a kilometer, landed on it, got the samples back, 2021, got here, 63,000 miles above the Earth's atmosphere. It released this capsule, and they could exactly tell what time it's going to land and roughly where. There was a big landing area, but it landed near Salt Lake City. But the timings were so precise. It said sort of that, okay, around our time, it was, I think, 10:42 or something like that. That's when it sort of starting to descend, and it took about 10 minutes or so to descend from the atmosphere. A parachute opened, and then it landed, and then a bunch of helicopters went there and actually tried to get it, because you didn't want some random person to say, hey, what is this? Let me open it up.
I'm going to put it in my mouth.
Exactly. The spacecraft itself, it's off to its new mission, which is to another asteroid. So that's a whole other fascinating thing that it's actually moving on.
There's a potential that some asteroid somewhere may contain things that could be brought back to Earth, a la this Osiris Rex mission, and help us create an energy future. Is that a realistic thought? Is it would it have to be scaled up to a level that is beyond the pale? Or is this why science is going in this direction?
In theory, asteroid mining is something that can help with natural resources. The question is how much effort, how much money has to go into that mission versus what you get back. So when sometimes people say, oh, this asteroid, for example, there is one, well, it has all these precious metals that are sort of like not $1 trillion or what, $10 trillion. But it doesn't make much sense if it takes a lot more to go and get the extraction money out. So in the future, can that type of thing happen? Possibly. Science fiction certainly like shows like The Expanse, for example, deals with that. But this type of an asteroid, Bennu, that is actually what is called carbon-rich asteroid. So it has scientific value quite a bit. This is one of those asteroids that has sort of like, probably organic compounds. We don't know this one, but NASA is not the first space agency to bring samples back from an asteroid. That honor belongs to JAXA, the Japanese space agency. And one of the interesting things, again, so why do we care about these things? In that analysis of that asteroid shows that it has hydrated minerals, meaning to say there is water in there. And now astronomers people used to think that, well, comets were the primary source of water on Earth. But now actually astronomers think, because of that analysis in part, that perhaps it's the asteroids that brought water to the Earth, as well as amino acids. So we know that amino acids are on comets. We knew about amino acids in asteroids too, but this one in particular, they could actually see that, and including one really important molecule, uracil, which is actually part of the RNA molecule, they detected signs of that. So one of the things that Osiris Rex team is doing is actually sharing data. They actually have some sample sharing with the Japanese Space Agency. And one of the fascinating questions would be, well, what are the similarities and differences between these two particular asteroids? The natural resources bit exploitation of the resources is there. But for this type of asteroids, I think there is a lot more that comes out of the scientific value, pure scientific value. I think that is pretty high. But there's one thing that really struck me, and that is that about 70% of this material, and if you're thinking about it, how much it's about 0.5 pound of material from this asteroid. But 70% of it, they are going to actually set aside, pretty much in storage. So 25% is going to go to different research institutions. About 200 astronomers are going to share the data. 4% is going to the Canadian Space Agency, and then about 0.4% to Japan. But to me, it was just really fascinating that 70% actually they are setting aside. And that is because they want to keep it for when our technology improves. We can actually do better analysis of it for techniques that we don't have yet. To me, this is so cool that you get something really exciting. You get this chocolate fudge cake and you go like, I'm going to set aside for when I really want it. Right?
First thing I did was put it in my mouth.
I think that's actually a lot of foresight into it. So that's cool. So we will have results coming from this particular asteroid, I think, in the coming decades. But again, as I mentioned, where is Osiris Rex now? It's actually headed to another asteroid. It's not done yet. If you were to take one thing out of this, just think about it. This mission went out in space. It went for 4 billion miles to this asteroid. Then it came back. And then it launched this capsule when it was 63,000 miles above the atmosphere. And this sample that it had gathered from landing on Bennu grabbed it and back. I mean, it's just amazing what humans can do if we stick to the positive things.
Yes. Good words of advice to stick by. Stick to the positive things.
Indeed.
As much as you can. You're listening to The Fabulous 413 on NEPM. Welcome back to The Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. It seemed like with the few minutes that we have left, that we could do what I would like to call leftovers, which means things that we would have liked to have talked about that have already happened, and things that we would like to talk about that are about to happen.
Yes.
So let's start with the things that have already happened that we wanted to just highlight, including what you did this weekend, Khalees.
Oh, I went to see The Breeders because I am that girl. And they played Last Splash in its entirety, live, and it was absolutely amazing. I was restored.
For those who don't know who The Breeders are, who are The Breeders?
So The Breeders are a band that was initially started by Tanya Donnelly of Then Throwing Muses and Belly and Kim Deal of the Pixies. As
local connection?
Local connections. And in fact, like still local. They formed it in Boston. So Breeders are kind of technically a Boston band.
Totally.
but Tanya Donnelly then left to do more belly stuff, and Kim Deal and her sister became kind of the core of the band. It's gone through several lineup changes, including the one I saw on Sunday, but it was absolutely fantastic. On Sunday, you saw a punk rock legend.
Yeah, well, where did you see the Breeders, though?
Oh, in Boston.
Now in the Fabulous 413, saw another punk rock legend, Henry Rollins of Black Flag and the Rollins Band fame,
yes,
but playing no music. He did a spoken word, was sold out. He started exactly at 8 o'clock and talked a mile a minute with no breaks, no water, and I think no blinking till 10:20. It was an incredible show.
That was amazing.
So quickly, the leftovers, you want to talk about something you're doing.
Yeah, so Porch Fest happens in East Hampton on Saturday, and it's basically on people's porches in one neighborhood of East Hampton, and my band, Extemper, in a small truncated form, will be playing it, so come early.
And Sunday at the Pines Theater at Look Park, there is a fundraiser playing in the Pines. It's got some great local bands that we know and love here, like the Lonesome Brothers. It's got 3 stages, and it's all to benefit the Pines Theater at Look Park. Tomorrow, we'll talk about more music with Chris Freeman of the Parlor Room fame. I'm Monty Belmonte.
And I'm Khalees Smith. We'll talk tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.